I'm Theresa Khalil, a writer, a documentary filmmaker, and I spent most of my life in the Arabic world, between Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and now for the last 12 years I'm living in Europe. And I'm also someone who's out of the box, so I have a unique view, and today I'm going to reflect on the debate between Douglas Murray and Mehdi Hasan about anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism is a cruel treatment, double standards applied to Jews. Anti-Zionism is a movement that believes that the Jews don't have the right to a state in their historic homeland.
Let's start. So this question about Jewish and is it anti-Zionism or anti-Semitism, I actually made a documentary long time ago, about 20 years ago. I went and I asked the children in Egypt about being Jew and would they want to be a friend with a Jew? And this what was their answer.
طبعا يعني انا صاحب مسيحيين بس
ما ينفعش صح؟
لا طبعا ما ينفعش ان انا صاحب من دين واحد.
ممكن تصاحب يهودي؟
لا
يهودي مش اي حد يهودي يبقى وحش، يعني اليهودي ده ديانه، لكن لما يكون في طبعه في حاجه وحشه ما ينفعش تصاحب.
Palestinian issue, man. You know, they need to help themselves, like what the Iraqis are doing. They should just let Israel occupy the country and no, rather than them dying, man. Please, man, I ain't gonna let no Jew occupy.
The idea of the film was that I'm asking children topics of adults because I knew that they are going to share their family's point of view. Okay, so you can see that some say that once you mention the word Jew, as I was raised in the Arabic world, I know that you get immediately tensioned because it's always like dangerous. It's not only that there are consequences from like the Jew himself. If you meet a Jew, which to be honest, I lived all my life in the Arabic world, I never met a Jew. But there are consequences, like if you yourself will become suspicious to the people around you if you are interacting with someone Jewish. So there is this tension, and when you hear some of the children saying, well, if he's not Zionist, then it's okay. But from my experience in the Arabic world, that you can't separate between being Zionist and being Jew. So being anti-Zionist will make you become anti-Semitic. It just comes in the package. And one of the questions I was having as an Arab, I was questioning all my life, like, why the Jew? Like, what with this group of people and their belief that made everyone discriminate against them? What are they doing? So I was investigating and looking into that recently. And I couldn't believe that all this stemmed from a story. I just shared a video last week about the healing power of telling your story, right? But in this video, this is the power of a story. How can it can destroy a whole planet. It can kill people. A story can do that. So what is the story? The story is that the Jews killed Jesus. And that's how everything started, when the Christians started telling their children, don't play with the children of the Jews because those are the people who killed Jesus. And then the story started building up. They started adding to it things like, oh, those people smell bad. Or when the plague came to Europe, the Christians thought that it was the Jews who caused it, and that they poisoned the water somehow. So that's how, like, because before Israel existed, there was still discrimination against the Jews, right? Like, so why? This is what I was always thinking. Why? As a questioner. And I discovered that it is because of that story. And so people started discriminating against the Jews before even Israel existed. And that's how anti-Semitism started. But then it didn't end there, because there was another story, and it came from Islam, where there was the story of a Jewish woman who poisoned Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They think that that was the reason why he died at the end after many years, because of the poison of this Jewish woman. So because also of this story, in the Arabic world, there is always the sentence of Jewish people are killers of the prophets. So it has nothing to do with anti-Zionism. So this is what I want to say. Like, anti-Semitic doesn't stem from Israel. It has a history before that. And so I don't see a necessity for making a debate. Can you be anti-Zionist and not anti-Semitic? If you are anti-Zionist, you will probably be anti-Semitic, because this Zionism idea came from having like discrimination against the Jews. So it is connected to the Jews. You can't separate them. So another thing I would like to reflect on in this debate is Mehdi Hasan. It was the first time I get to know him, and I think he's a journalist for Al Jazeera. That's a very good opportunity to share my story with Al Jazeera, because in Egypt, before the revolution, which happened in 2011, we trusted Al Jazeera so much. For us, Al Jazeera was a channel that tells the truth. And the media that belongs to the government was, of course, going to fake things or make propaganda for the government, right? It's expected. What happened is that when the revolution started, Al Jazeera was fueling it up, with shots showing because they have, of course, financial capabilities. So they were covering the news of Tahrir Square and the revolution in Egypt with great success. And every Egyptian was watching Al Jazeera, not of course, the governmental media, because they trusted Al Jazeera. They have professionals. They are very high standard, and of course they are telling the truth. And that was before we discovered later on that they are supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, and they are financed by Qatar and all that. But I remember when I was in Sharm el-Sheikh, in the time between the revolution started, 25th of January 2011, and before President Mubarak stepped down, I remember I was living in Sharm at that time. I went to the market, I bought stuff, I went home, I opened Al Jazeera, and I see they're saying that there was a big explosion, a bomb in the market in Sharm. I was like, how is this possible? I just came. Because he said it happened in the morning, and it's like the victims and so I was like, how is this possible? I just came from the market and everything seems peaceful. Of course, now I understand that they were trying to make things seem more than they are, so they can cause more chaos. And this can be also pressuring to support the Muslim Brotherhood to take over, and for the current government at that time to step down. But yeah, so you learn from this that Al Jazeera, they don't mind lying. It's not that they share the news from their point of view, but they have no problem lying. And so this takes me in part of the debate when Mehdi Hasan was saying something how that the Jews before Israel, they were described as alien and wild. And
1917, over 100 years ago, Arthur Balfour, the British Foreign Secretary, a card-carrying anti-Semite, a man who had denounced the evils of Jewish immigration into the UK, a man who referred to Jews as an alien and hostile people. He issued his Balfour Declaration.
Balfour. We heard him quoted to you earlier, ladies and gentlemen. Well, let's be clear about that quote and what was changed, or at least misrepresented, because I think this is going to give a really strong indication for what is coming out of the opposition as a whole. We were told he'd referred to Jews as alien and hostile, in fact that he was therefore an anti-Semite. Well, I'm going to read you out the quote and you make up your own minds. He said, "Mitigate the age-long miseries created for Western civilization by the presence in its midst of a body which it too long regarded as alien and even hostile, but which it was equally unable to expel or absorb.
And it turns out in the debate that, because the other woman replied to him, Natasha, and she said that actually they were saying how that the Jews for a long time have been discriminated against and considered wild or alien and wild. So I liked that Douglas Murray he said that maybe Mehdi Hasan didn't make this mistake deliberately to just show the Jews in bad light, but he maybe was misinformed, or someone told him or prepared for him this. And so I liked how he's like trying to assume good intention of the opposite side. And I think that's the difference between, like, you can disagree with someone, but to disagree with honor, this what is rare in the world now. So this is what I wanted to reflect on, how that a story can destroy your life. And actually there is similar situation happening in Egypt as well with the Christians, the minority. When some stories say that Christians, for example, have lions inside the church, or that men and women inside the churches in Egypt are kissing each other. So stories like this can build up and can lead to crazy stuff. So yeah, stories are so powerful, whether you use them for healing, like I shared in the last video, or they can destroy your life. This was my unique view and my reflections. If you want to watch the full documentary, Kids Talk, it was my first attempt to make a documentary before I become a documentary filmmaker, so I can leave it for you. I made it with very simple tools. So I will leave it in the cards and the description box. And tell me, what do you think? Are you anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist?